I got to get to NFL because it was announced yesterday that Jets' newly acquired pass rusher, Hasson Reddick, done did it again. I'm just kidding. He has requested a trade after being traded to the Jets earlier this offseason from the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm trying to figure out if I want to play this video or get your thoughts first. You know what? We're gonna play the video first. How about that? And then I'll get your thoughts. So this guy, he was actually on one of the sports shows, and he was just telling us, explaining what the process was with the contract negotiation between Hassan Reddick and the
It
Jets.
down for you. The Jets were informed before acquiring Hasson Reddick from Philly that his contract needed to be addressed. The Jets made an offer prior to the trade with the Eagles. Hasson Reddick, I'm told, turned that down. It was below market. The Jets and Joe Douglas still went ahead with the trade without a deal in place. Here's where things get interesting. Reddick then attended his press conference with the understanding that contract talks would continue. But I'm told no official proposal has been made since he joined the team. That was March 29th, 5-6 months ago. That's where things stand, and it's why, Acho, Reddick has not been with the team at minicamp, training camp, or any other camp. And it's why today's trade request was made.
So that's what he said. I'm also going to show, before I get your thoughts, this is what the Jets stated after the trade request was made. The Jets said, "We have informed Hassan that we will not trade him, that he is expected to be here with his teammates, and that he will continue to be fined per the CBA if he does not report. Since the trade discussions back in March, we have been clear, direct, and consistent with our position. Our focus will remain on the guys we have here as we prepare for the regular season." Guys, I got to get your thoughts on this because this is just a wild and crazy situation. K-Walk, I'm going to start with you first. What are your thoughts on this entire situation?
Reddick's been duped. He's been duped because of the fact of the matter is, if you look at certain situations like the Brandon Ayuk situation, where he's not going anywhere until the team that he's supposedly being traded to agree to an extension. So no one's going to agree to agree to a trade unless they have assurance that they're going to get an extension, and that's generally what happens in situations of such. So, in my opinion, I'm not just saying because he's a Temple guy, but he's been duped in this situation. So and he laid it out perfectly. That's exactly what was on the table. The Jets knew it, Reddick knew it, the Eagles knew it, and that's why this trade went down. And for the Jets to not honor that agreement, and it's just the Jets being the Jets. That's why I always say the Jets will eventually jet, through the season, whatever the case may be. They, lose a game, but in this situation, they may lose a player because Reddick was told that he was going to get an extension, and obviously that's not the case. So I wholeheartedly agree with Reddick in this situation. I think he's doing the right thing. Maybe he should hold in as opposed to holding out, so that way he won't lose, as much money as he's losing, by being out. But that's his bank, so I'm not here to talk about anybody else's money. But nonetheless, I think he's in the right on this. Reddick.
Yeah, I don't know if Reddick's been duped or anything like that. I'm not exactly sure about that because, everybody knew the situation going in prior to the trade talks. Everybody knew the situation. The Jets offered prior to the trade. The Jets actually offered Hassan Reddick. I think it was slightly below market contract. Reddick declined it. He said, "I'm not taking this." But the Jets then proceeded to trade for him anyway, understanding that he wasn't going to play under his current contract. So for me, what kind of business is the Jets organization doing? This makes no sense. So you basically gave up a third round pick because he's not going to play. It was I think a second conditional. Depending on the playing time, would have turned into a second round pick. So you basically gave up a third round pick. You gave up on I think two young guys, defensive pass rushers. One you traded, and the other Bryce Huff that ended up signing with the Eagles in the offseason, that has a lot of potential. For a guy who's a little bit older and you don't want to meet his contract demands, and he's like, "I'm not coming in," and now he requested another trade. And if you ended up trading him, which I don't think they will, but we just never know in these situations, you basically gave up everybody for and got nothing in return. Like literally nothing in return. So I don't know what the situation really truly is. And the funny thing is, I like Joe Douglas. I think he's the vice president of player personnel, the president of player personnel with the Jets, and he's usually very on point with his business decision. This just was not a sound business. Most times, you come to an agreement with a player prior to the trade even happening. With the Brandon Ayuk situation,
Mhm.
he's turning down contracts, but that's why teams won't trade for him because they don't have that contract in place with the player because
Right.
they know I'm not going to come play. And to me, Hassan Reddick is an important piece to this Jets defense. You gave up a lot of players. You
Yeah.
let some players
Draft
go just to
capital.
bring him in. Right. So it's just like, what are we doing? It's not smart decisions that's going on here. Um, so I just think the Jets are being a little crazy right now. But Jay, what are your thoughts on this?
This is a tough one for me because I do see it from both sides. I understand it from Reddick's side, being traded, thinking that he's going to get something long term in place, and then not working out. I also see it from the Jets side. Like you said, Britt, they made him an offer, they extended an offer, but he turned it down. So just the idea of, hey, we're going to work something out doesn't necessarily mean that both parties are going to agree on the value of that contract. But for me, like where it sits right now, and I'm usually on the players' side. Like I want the players to get as much money as they can. But if I'm the Jets right now, I'm drawing a line in the sand. Like, look, we just gave up stuff to get this guy, and now you want to request a trade? No, I'm not trading you. I'm gonna fine you if you don't come in. And at some point, I feel like Reddick really doesn't have any leverage. Like, is he really going to sit out the whole year? I mean, football players need to play football. I don't. I think at some point he's going to lose out on this battle and have to come back to camp. He's not going to keep. I think his fines have been up to maybe. I mean, I might have heard this wrong, but I thought he was approaching $1 million
$1 million.
something dollars worth of fines. Like, how long can he sustain that? So I get it, but if I'm the Jets, like I got to get something out of this guy. Like I can't just let him walk out the door. He's a good player. So if I'm the Jets, I'm holding my line in the sand. I'm saying, man, you got to come to camp. At the end of the day, you still have a year left on a contract that you signed, and we need you in camp. Show good faith. Maybe we can get this thing figured out. But I'm not letting you walk out the door. I'm not trading you. And how long can you really afford to hold out? Because I guarantee you they can afford to keep fining him a lot longer than he can afford to keep holding out.
Right. But look, the one thing I try not to do is count somebody's pockets, but I think what we
Right.
forget a lot of times in these situations is these players just don't depend on the contracts that teams are giving to them. They got so much money elsewhere. And I think that's why he's willing to sit out. To me, he's sitting here saying, I'm not playing unless you give me somewhat close to my worth. And I don't blame. I'm actually on Reddick's side on this situation. He's playing for a contract that he's played beyond for many years now. I think he's one of two players in the last 4 or 5 years to have 10 plus sacks
Yeah.
in each of those years,
And then Miles Garrett.
at 20. Right, him and Miles
Hmm.
Garrett at 29
Hmm.
years old, and he's just asking. I don't know if he's demanding Bosa's money. He's not going to get Bosa's money. I'm pretty sure he understands he won't get Bosa's money, but to give him up north of $25 million, and I believe that's what he's asking for. He doesn't want anything between that 20 to 23 range. I think he wants closer to $25 million. I wouldn't be surprised if we see this go into the regular season. I really wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised. Like I said, these guys, they got endorsement deals, they got businesses on the side. Um, he lives out here, I think still in South Jersey, so whatever area, from my understanding. I think financially, he's like, I can handle this. I could be art for a little bit. I
I
think
don't know.
I think the pressure gets put back on the Jet side because if he doesn't play, what does that do as far as your game? I don't think they win without him.
Well, they might
He's
not
an
even
important
win. They
piece.
might not even win with him. And what does that do for him if he doesn't play? Is he really going to sit out of football a whole season? I don't think he will. And if he does, like, what does that do, like, with his contract? Like, there might be some, like, if he holds out, like, the Jets still might have his rights the next year because he didn't play. So I just don't know, like, if the Jets are really drawing a hard line in the sand, saying we're not trading you, we're just not going to do it.
But Jay,
I don't know how he wins in this situation.
But Jay, I think we're not realizing how much pressure the Jets are under at this moment to win, and he's an important piece in that. You got a 40-something-year-old Aaron Rodgers. We don't know how long he's
coming off an Achilles injury.
Yeah. Right. We're not, and so right now, between the fan base, the media, it's like your window right now seems to be now. It's now. So
that's true.
But
they're the Jets also have a really good defense. They have a really good defense. They were good before he got there, and I think they're going to be good even if he's not there. I think he's really good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know that he's the make or break piece to the Jets defense.
But Jay, if your offense can't stay on the field, no matter how good that defense is, they get tired. They're going to get tired.
For sure.
So I mean, and I think that we may see that. We may see that. But if Hasson Reddick is desperate for money, I think he would do what Brandon Ayuk, and he would hold in, and that way he doesn't get fined. Mm-hmm. That's the smart move to do if he was really harder for money or desperate for money or doesn't need the money. I mean, if he really needs the money, I think he would hold in. But I'm with Reddick. Go ahead.
But then the other thing with holding in, what does that do for your locker room? So let's say he does come back, right? My back hurt. We know your back don't hurt. Does he start talking? Now, Reddick is not that type of guy. He seems to be like a good guy everywhere he's been. You never heard anything bad about him or anything. Even here in Philadelphia, teammates speak highly of him. He's such a team player. But he does deserve to get his money just as much as everybody else. But if he comes in, does that create some sort of toxic situation within the own locker room? Guys flip sometimes when it comes to money. I'm not saying he will, but holding in may be a worse option sometimes, depending on how it impacts the rest of the guys.
Yeah, and I think that's where the GM and the head coach and ownership has to come in and say, kind of do a separation. You're here, you're reporting. You're not practicing. We're gonna call it, whatever, a back spasm, whatever to kind of to your point, Britt. But we got to separate you from the team because we don't want any guys in your ear or vice versa. And it's that way kind of split in the locker room. If you will, we don't want that kind of cancer. We don't want that type of animosity in the locker room. But we understand, we respect that you're here. But if you're not going to practice, you're going to get your money. But at the same time, we don't want you around the team, even though just walking around getting paid, doing nothing. We can't have you here talking as well. So I understand where you're coming from there, though, Britt.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be interesting as we get closer. I think it's 20-something games left before we hit the regular season. And it looks like he's not budging on his part. The Jets, I don't know what the fact that the guy said in the video, they haven't really talked to Hasson Reddick in months. That's a little unheard of. You don't trade for a guy and then not try to negotiate with him in months. So something else is going on here. And honestly, if he ends up getting traded, I honestly would not be surprised. Like K-Walk said, the Jet will Jet it.
Yes,
they'll
exactly.
Jet.
And I wouldn't be mad as a 49er fan if he missed the first week of the season. I wouldn't be.
Oh, they play y'all the first week. Oh, they do. I forgot this. Yes. I did see that on the schedule. Any final thoughts on Hasson Reddick and these New York Jets?
I don't think so.
Get your money, team. Get your money, team.
Yes.
Temple University.
Temple University. My bad.
Want me to sing the song?
Yeah. No, please, K-Walk. No. No.
We try to gain subscribers, not lose them.
Get your money, Hasson. Get the money, as they said in Jerry Maguire. Show me the money.